Governor, Chief Minister, Medhaji, Secretary, ladies and gentlemen, friends. I must first congratulate the PNT department on this magnificent building that they have put up. And I hope we don't have to wait another 38 years for the next one. I'd like to specially congratulate them because they have not only built a magnificent building, they have also blended it with the surrounding buildings, with the architecture. They have used materials which will not deteriorate in service. And I hope this is an example that they will use for their other buildings as well. Too often, we have seen government buildings really deteriorating into what is best described as PWD architecture. And I'm glad that the PNT department has stepped out from that old system. Communications has been one of the departments of the government which has been under perhaps the maximum pressure. Invariably, we have not had enough funds to cope with the demand. And also, sometimes the training standards, the maintenance standards, the quality levels are not what they should be. I hope the PNT will take these seriously and put in a massive effort into training their staff. Not just the top, but what is much more important is the bottom of the pyramid. Because if there is no bottom, the top cannot be supported. And it is with that training, with that solid base, that we will get a good functioning system. Every minister has found this ministry, what should I say, a bed of thorns. But perhaps with the system as it is today, with lots of nodal junctions and lines coming out, I could describe it better as a cactus, which Medhaji has got to hold on to. But we have technology today which can overcome our problems. It needs a determined will to do it. We have indigenous technology already available in certain areas. We have other departments developing this technology. And I hope the PNT will show the dynamism to use the best technology that is available to them, to use it in time and efficiently. The changeover that is required is tremendous. The efforts required will be great. But I know that the PNT department can do it. As we progress, as our industry progresses, the demands for communication become greater and greater. And today we are finding many things get stuck, get bogged, get clogged because of a lack of efficient communication, because of a lack of adequate in the quality sense, types of communication. And while we must concentrate on the requirement of the average people, the poorest with postcards, with cheaper letters, it costs the poorest an equal amount if government functioning gets clogged. Ultimately, the price is all paid down there. We must see how we can improve government communications. There are many ideas. Medhaji had suggested to me once for another state that they could set up a completely independent government communication network. Something maybe similar to what the army uses as their own network, so that government could communicate with districts, with blocks, and get through. I am sure that if we do set up such a network in states, it will ultimately cost the governments even less than what they're paying today in just straight bills. And it will give them tremendous dynamism in operations, it will give good feedback, it will really improve the whole functioning of the system. We should use satellites, whatever methods are available, whatever technology is available, to try and do this. Let me once again congratulate you on your building, and I do hope that all your future buildings will keep aesthetics in mind, just as you have maintained the beauty of Bangalore, you will maintain the beauty of all the other towns that you put up post offices in. Thank you. Friends, sisters and brothers, from yesterday, I have been touring Andhra and Karnataka. I have been meeting your people. I have been seeing what sort of difficulties that they are having to face because of the drought. I have visited 5 districts of Karnataka: Gulbarga, Bijapur, Dharwar, Chitradurga and Kolar. And it is very clear that there is a severe drought. The people are facing tremendous difficulties. And many of the areas that I went, there is work going on. Work related to the drought, work related also to somehow trying to reduce drought in the future. But still, very much more needs to be done. Last year, we had sanctioned central assistance of 55 crores. After seeing your areas and after having our central team visit the area, we have reassessed the difficulties that the people of Karnataka are facing. You will remember that as soon as CM asked me to send a team, I immediately asked the Agricultural Minister to send his team to Karnataka to assess the problem. And I would like to categorically say that there is no discrimination against Karnataka in any way, whether it is drought relief or it is any other program. Sometimes it is possible that the government of Karnataka limits itself to Karnataka. But we as the government of India remember that we are the government of India and not the government of a number of states. From the center, when such calamities, difficulties hit a state, we can only help in certain ways. We can give money, we can give assistance in terms of material assistance, other types of assistance which you might need to fight drought, like rigs, like tankers, like pipes, I don't know, many other things. But the important thing is that it is up to the state government to see that the implementation of these programs goes right down to the grassroots level. I am told that people, senior people in the Karnataka government, were not worried enough about the drought to have toured the area. Perhaps
They had many more pressing engagements, and they did not have time for the people of Karnataka who are suffering from drought. This morning, when I started the tour, in a number of places, I found that it had rained yesterday and last night. Some places as much as 15 millimeters. If somebody had gone there earlier, they might have had rain earlier. But really, it shows the interest of the government in the problems of the really poor people. It's very easy to look at the problems of those who are above the poverty line, of those who are middle class or rich. But it is the government that has a certain dard in the heart for the poorest people that can only work for the poor people. This morning, when I set off from Hyderabad in the helicopter, I was given certain pamphlets published by the Karnataka government about the drought situation and about what they're doing. And I would like to read out one small paragraph from one of the pamphlets. Karnataka government is fully committed to providing work for all seeking employment, and no person is refused work for want of funds. This is what the Karnataka government has said in its paper. Unfortunately, what I have seen today is totally different from this statement. At best, we can say it is an idle boast. But perhaps it is even worse than that. Because in one district, I was shown the numbers by the district officials, and their attempt is only to try to give jobs to 10% of the people who need jobs. There is not even an attempt to give jobs to everyone who wants a job. And when I talk to the people, the mazdoors, the men, the women, who were digging the canals or they were making bunds, they also told me that there were many, many people in the villages that were looking for work, but no work was available. That sometimes they had to go 20 kilometers to the work site. Work was not available anywhere nearby. When I asked at these work sites to see the little books that each mazdoor must have so that he himself knows how much work he has done and he knows that he is not being cheated and how much money he has been paid, I was told that in Karnataka they do not give these books to the mazdoors and the people who are taking this work. In Gujarat, in Rajasthan, every mazdoor has a book. So the register cannot be changed. It can be checked against the books of the mazdoor. But then, when I asked to see the register, perhaps I realized why they had not given the books. The payment register was not available and they could not show it to me even at one place. And I asked for it at many places. When I asked for the attendance register, I was shown an attendance register. The pages were not numbered. The completed pages were signed, but there was no stamp to check it. At one work site, where I checked the pages, I found that the serial numbers were being repeated and different people were coming under the same serial number again. I also found that there was discrimination against women. They were not paying women and men separately. They were handing over the combined money to the man, whether it was husband and wife or whether they were just working as a pair in digging the mud. The Karnataka government has taken certain steps to rectify these points that I had found. it required the Prime Minister to come and look at these registers to find out what was happening. We saw one Gaushala, and again, there are too few Gaushalas to look after the cattle that is suffering, look after the cattle of the poor people. I believe that the government has set a target of 1 lakh Gaushalas, and I am told they are nowhere near that number at the moment. Who will get the bullocks to plough the fields when the rains come? I also noticed that amongst the cattle in the Gaushalas, there were some cows who were very healthy, and there were also some who were very emaciated. I made a slight mistake, not 1 lakh Gaushalas, Gaushalas for 1 lakh cattle. They had not thought that the emaciated cattle belonging obviously to the poorest people who could not even afford to feed the cattle should be given slightly extra daily rations so that they could put on weight. Even in distributing to the cattle, the distribution was such that the poorest person suffered at the cost of that distribution. There were other problems also. For example, at one place, I found that the laborers who were working found that the ground, the earth was very hard, and the quantity and the money that they were getting, that did not seem fair to them. And we have agreed to look into this and try to grade the soil in certain levels of hardness or difficulty of digging so that they will be able to get a full share of wages for the actual work that they put in. I also found that there was not adequate fodder available for the cattle. If they had listened to what the Congress had said and demanded in 1984, perhaps this would not have happened today. After seeing the work and after the central government officials have discussed with the Karnataka officials, we have decided to extend certain extra help to Karnataka. We have decided to increase the central assistance by 50 crores. We expect that this 50 crores will be spent in the next 3 months, April, May and June, which are the worst months for a drought. This additional assistance will be for special drilling rigs, any other special equipment that Karnataka might want, and for any schemes that they might want to run. But we felt and we were told that the slum areas of Bangalore are having a special water shortage. And we feel that a part of this must be spent to alleviate the water problem in the slums of Bangalore. Giving money is only part of the job. The state government must raise equal resources. It must show that it too has a commitment to the people of Karnataka. Implementation is the responsibility of the state government, and I hope the implementation will be better than what we have seen today. The state government always hides behind the excuse that the centre is not doing enough for Karnataka. I would once and for all like to explain to you how much the centre has done for Karnataka. In the 6th plan, Karnataka got many times the investment from the centre than what UP got, a state which is much bigger than Karnataka in any measure, whether it is area, whether it is people. Central investment in Karnataka today is 1,300 crores. And from the center, we are giving jobs to over 1 lakh people in Karnataka. The Public Investment Board has given approval to the Kudurmukh pelletization plant, the Donimalai iron ore scheme, Mangalore Harbour, the forge plant of Mysore Iron and Steel Limited. But the fact is that a government cannot hide behind excuses. I have shown you how much the centre has done for Karnataka. But what is required is a clean, honest government that works for the people of Karnataka. It requires a government which puts its reputation on the line. It requires a government that stands by what it says. The Bombay High Court, in its judgment, said that the Congress Chief Minister of Maharashtra had no positive direct links. There was no evidence to support that there was any link between the Chief Minister and the case that was in progress. But the court said that there could be an inference, and on that inference, our Chief Minister resigned and we got a different Chief Minister. Similarly, there was a case in Karnataka. The Karnataka High Court used the words for the government, unlawful, actions were unlawful, arbitrary, capricious, the rule of law was violated, and it was shocking to the judicial conscience. And what happened? We saw a bit of a drama, and the Chief Minister got re-elected. Now, we find that the Supreme Court has heard the same case on an appeal. The Supreme Court has now said that it was unusual, the action of the government. It has called the action of the government willful. It has called it perverse. It says that favors loaded with bounty are visible. The so-called policy decision was only an afterthought. And the Supreme Court has noted that the Chief Minister had given his clearance to the proposal. What has happened to the promise of a clean government? Where is that promise now? I also remember when the Bombay case was going on, the manner in which our friends from the press covered that case. Perhaps the measure of cleanliness in the media has altered. If I remember correctly, the press was a solid supporter of the Congress government at the center till something changed a few months ago. And I'll tell you what changed. One of the things that changed was that we started taking action against industrialists. Is it the same press which has changed its value judgments on a clean government when the Supreme Court has indicted the government of Karnataka? The answer, of course, does not lie with the press, because at best they are newspaper tigers. It is for the people of Karnataka to show that they will not have a government that does not govern for the people of Karnataka. It is time that each one of us in government ask the question of what we are doing here, there can only be one answer. We are here to see that the responsibility and trust that the people have put in our hands is met in full measure. We are here to see that the people's programs are not diluted, and every effort must go to see that the programs are being implemented according to what we say. And there should not be a deliberate difference between what we say in the House and what the district administration shows on its papers. The people of India, the people of Karnataka, give the responsibility for the handling of their funds, because every money that we look after is not government money, it belongs to the people of India and the people of Karnataka. No government that deliberately misuses that money, that knowingly misuses that money, has any business in continuing. It has lost the trust that the people have put in it. It is for the Congress to see that the people of Karnataka are not being cheated. Karnataka has been the traditional home of the Congress. It is from Karnataka that the Congress was rejuvenated after its debacle. And it is for the Congress to once more rise in Karnataka to serve the people of Karnataka. For the Congress to go back from the towns to the villages, to the mohallas, and to talk with the people, to tell them what is happening in Karnataka. It is for the Congress to build on the traditions of Karnataka, the traditions of harmony, the traditions of different religions, castes, linguistic groups living together in harmony, in peace. Today, I went to Badami and we went for a slight detour and saw the beautiful caves, the heritage of Karnataka at Badami. Caves, temples, mosques, all together in one place. Karnataka cannot be a home to parochialism and chauvinism. On the national scene, we need to have these values taken from Karnataka. We are seeing certain problems in Punjab. We had certain delays in implementation of the accord, but that has been set right now, and once more we are moving at full speed for implementing the accord in spirit and in letter. We've just held a meeting of the National Integration Council, and the National Integration Council gave solid support to the government in Punjab to tackle the situation. We need to build this support right across the country and take it down to the people, not just keep it amongst the leaders. India's strength today is on its self-reliance. Our self-reliance, whether it's in agriculture, industry, or certain strategic advanced areas of technology, is the basis of all our policies. It is the strength of India. The biggest battle that we face today is that against poverty. And we have seen that where this battle has been won, it has been technology that has helped bring the poor people up. If it was in Punjab, where the poor farmer turned his dry soil into a green revolution, it required the most advanced genetic engineering, power systems, irrigation, fertilizers to make that possible. Our major thrust in technology is towards the poorest people, to see how we can make our best brains work for the weakest, most depressed sections of our society. But to be able to use such technology, we need to educate our people in a better manner. Because education is the basis of any development, any long-term development. Our new education system, which we hope to put in front of the nation very soon, will have such a thrust. It will have also a job-oriented thrust, and it will pay very special attention to the education of girls and women. Let me lastly wish you a Nimagela Hosa Vershada Subhashe Agalu. Thank you. Jai Hind.